Lay down, puppies. Go lay down, Riley.
Watch out, pups.
Go lay down.
Hello.
Hello. We're so casual today. The dogs are out. We're taking Q&A. Could go
It could go really bad.
well or terribly.
Yeah. It could go really poorly, especially someone asked me, or I was messaging with someone, and they were saying how if there was a script, we hide it really well. And I was like, no, there's no script. It's just holding on for dear life. Alright, so we put a thing up yesterday, or last week rather, and gave people about 7 minutes lead time to submit a question. And actually got a couple after we stopped recording, but wanted to kind of
give people more time.
give people more time, and so put it up again. So this will be, it's not a live video, or whatever that kind of Facebook Live thing is, but it's pretty much in real time. So I guess before that, the whole Q&A type scenario is one that I sometimes have mixed feelings about.
Okay.
Because I think it's important to ask questions, and I think it's important to provide honest answers, but I also, and this is probably an insecurity of me, feel like sometimes it's like a little like don't want to be know-it-all. You know what I mean?
Sure, I think some of the questions though, they're about us. So
Yeah.
we hopefully know something about ourselves.
Coaching, our
It's
stuff.
our perspective.
Yeah,
so
it's
we're
just
not
our
pretending to know. This is not the only answer for many of these things. It's our take on it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way to say it. Good. Alright, so I guess we'll just jump right in.
I feel like we have to say like so-and-so from, like Boise, Idaho, wrote in with a question.
Yes.
No,
I don't know.
that.
We didn't say the names.
We won't say the names.
We won't say the names.
No.
Alright, so let me go through them. The first one is... Stand by.
There were some from last week. Did you?
There
go
were
through
some
those?
from last week. I am not good at
Okay.
this whole thing, but... Okay, here's one to start.
This whole thing being life or organizing?
No, mostly life.
Okay. The camera's not on, by the way.
What? Yeah, it is. The screen thing just flipped.
Okay.
Okay, so what are some of your goals, both personal and professional, for 2020? The old goals question. It's a good question. It's a good start off question.
Yeah.
You want to go first while
I'll go first. You gonna lock the dogs in the closet?
Sure. Come on, pups. Come. Let's go. Come on. Up we go.
Goals for 2020. Should I just talk to our people here?
Yeah, you're messing it all up. Go.
One of my goals, I would say, is something we talked about in a couple of other podcasts, just finding the line of discipline, I guess, versus, being connected to what's right for me that day. So that also leads to the notion of being present, which I think is sort of an overused term, but just trying to be able to be in the moment and not have everything be a should. So as it relates to training, I was saying being connected with what I feel and I need, not necessarily what I feel like I should do, which kind of goes back to our thing about discipline and being present. So for me, that's like a goal personally to be a little bit
You're
more,
saying with training or in life in general?
I guess just in life in general. Present is such an overused term, but
Yeah.
but I do feel like, for me, like awareness, which requires being present.
Yeah, I mean, it's overused, but it's not used enough. It's not implemented enough.
So I could say that about my training, like not just doing what's like, okay, it's Tuesday, so, and I should I should go hard because I haven't gone hard for 2 days or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
With us, I think it would be like you talked with our friend about the relationship language. I forget what it was called.
The Imago dialogue.
So
Tim.
being able to, it's like a way to talk to each other, to like be more present and hear what the other person's saying.
Yeah, it's
not
powerful.
just be reactive. So
Yeah.
from that place, those would be two things, and I think those contribute a lot to when I find myself not doing well, is deviating from that. So that would be personal goals.
All right, I'll go personal. You can think about professional because you've been talking for a long time. Personal goal for me is to have more fun. So I don't know how that relates to the Fuck Fun t-shirt, but that's a goal. It honestly is. And I can joke about it and all, and for years I've been kind of being a little silly about it. Like, I don't know how to have fun and stuff, but man.
But I mean, like, so that's a goal. What do you think you would have to do? So, like, for me, some of the tools would have to be being more connected to how I feel, taking that time, maybe implementing that Imago language, like asking certain questions to get me to be present. What would be a tool for you? Because you can say that, but there has to be action there.
Yeah. This is something that Julian and I were talking about out in San Diego, and it's like finding an activity that you can learn that's, the challenge is like not being tied to something that is very strongly integrated into either past or present, that has me interacting with other people, kind of getting outside of some comfort zones type deal.
Any ideas with that?
Well, I mean, obviously the first thing that comes to mind is skydiving.
Right.
Getting back up in the air and jumping again. That's something I would really like to do.
Yeah. Spring is coming.
Spring is coming.
Okay.
I would also like to learn something completely new as well. And have fun in that process.
Like physical or non-physical? Or do you care? Like cooking? Like.
Yeah, that's not fun to me.
Okay.
Yeah, some sort of, either like something in like maybe in art. It doesn't have to be. I want there to be some sort of, like, I don't want it to just be studying. I do enough with that.
Yeah.
Something involving, like, for example, the wood carving.
Like a skill.
Like a skill. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, so I have that wood carving thing I'd like to get into. That's a little bit of a on your own type thing. But something that is not a stepping stone.
You can come to ballet with me.
Something that is not I was going to say a stepping stone, but like something that's not for a very direct use.
Right, just fun for the sake of fun.
Fun for the sake of fun. And really see, like, can I have fun? Because some of all of that. So, but that's a personal goal.
And that ties into, we've been trying to have more social interaction, which is good. That's going better.
Yeah.
Professionally is a big one.
Yeah.
We sort of have been hinting at things, so we do have some plans professionally combined, but I guess without saying anything about that or being specific, I mean, professionally for me, that's much easier to say than personally. It would be to really align like what I believe in and what I'm passionate about as it relates to what I do, which is fitness and helping people and that whole realm, with like the model and the executing it, like how I do that. So like currently the women's group, that's been big for you. That's a big thing for me. Like I feel like that's on par with really executing something that is about what I believe about fitness. I'm not sort of compromising in any way in that and having to say, well, this doesn't really work because of this and this and this. So more of those type of things would be my professional goal, and aligning that and being able to see that, to fruition.
Does part of your professional goal involve wearing all Motown gear? You've got the hat, you've got the sweatshirt. If you were wearing the pants, you'd be 3 for 3. Or the socks. You're 50% there.
It's not that much.
Anyway.
Go on.
Sorry.
You're professional.
Sorry. Yeah, my professional goal would be to kind of take between the ears to the next level, both in terms of more ongoing interaction with folks, as well as getting out in front of different audiences. Right now, that's happening. The network is global, and that is really, really awesome. I would like to interact and engage and get in front of some of these folks' own little areas and little groups and little tribes.
Like you've kind of now, you're getting the right people and now expanding to the right people's people.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah. The right people are definitely being attracted to Between the Ears and engaging, and it's taken a few years to get there, and but that's good. And veterans initiatives, that's a big one for me as well. So those are some of the professional goals. How those come about, we'll see. But
there's definitely stuff in the works. So
there are
all those things.
Yeah, there's things in the works.
All right.
Which is cool. If anybody has any sort of suggestions
for us for our goals.
Well, no, like if it's like, oh yeah, hey, this made me think of that. You know, I was talking with a client out in San Diego, and he was like, hey, you know, kind of we were talking a little bit about Between the Ears. It's really cool because, you know, West Coast, obviously we're East Coast, and was able to share some time, and obviously the Strong Fit seminar was cool. And we were just kind of talking about it, and he's like, you know, he's like, it's so hard to articulate to people. People ask me about it. It's so hard to articulate to them, like, what the heck it is. He's like, I'd have to show you. Yeah. And obviously that's like an egg that I've been trying to crack.
But you know, when you think about it, like, there are other, I mean, CrossFit is kind of that. We've said that before too, with like, people talk on the phone, and it's like, well, and how does that work, and this work? And it's like, the best way to experience it is really just, you got to do it, because we can talk all day. So I think as it becomes more familiar, that's probably less and less of it.
And my point was like, hey, like, I'm also asking for help in this. So, you know, if you have ideas, like there's a lot of smart people out there who have amazing experiences, and, you know, I'm asking for help. So anyway.
All right.
Cool.
That's that question.
Ooh, I think we got some more actually coming in. Buzzer beater questions. What are some of your goals? How did you approach teaching nutrition to your kids? Good question.
That was a great question. You know, the kids have our kids have been on, whether they like it or not, they've been part of the journey I've gone on with fitness and nutrition. So I will say a couple of things. You know, I've had my own struggles with food, and, you know, like I've always been very aware to try not to expose them, like very aware of how I speak about food especially when I was in an unhealthy relationship with it. So I think first off with kids, being very aware of using words like good food, bad food. I know those are sort of general, like, yeah, but, you know, not...
You're saying using or not using?
Yeah, like not using that association with food. Just always trying to talk about food and food choices from a place of health. And then for the kids, like, we've always treated them, you know, like, I feel like trying to have them understand and learn. It's not really just like, do this because I said so.
Right.
So I think we've involved them in the conversation and explaining. Now, that said, sure, I don't subscribe to that kids should never have sugar. Like, I understand that, like, we don't all need to have sugar. I totally get that. My personal belief is, like, I think it's okay for kids to have some sugar, but also understanding, like, the principles of nutrition. how the body works.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, when you do this, this is kind of what happens. This is how it can really impact like how you think, your brain, how to use food for like the best, you know, the best it can be used for, those types of things. But for us, I think the big thing that people can take away who maybe don't understand all the like details of nutrition are your kids should be eating pretty much what you're eating.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And
I think modeling behavior and inclusivity.
Yeah.
Is a big one, and that's a tough one because 99% of people that think about food
Mm-hmm.
as it relates to health and wellness usually go to lose weight,
Yeah.
look better.
Yeah.
Your kids, like Marcus and Olivia, did not sign up for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so thinking about how you're modeling your behavior, what
Right.
you're teaching them something, even if you have no friggin' idea
Yeah.
that you're doing it. They are watching, they are listening, they are seeing, they are mirroring. And so I think to just kind of like inhale, exhale, and relax for a second and just be like, okay, what's the context of this is going to be educating them and empowering them so that in 15 years they can have a healthy relationship with it.
Yeah,
Not so that they, there's a lot of kids in your class that are overweight. Like, no.
Right. I think there are things that people can do as a family. Like we watched Food Inc. at an early age, and someone did say to me once like how inappropriate that was, and I thought like, of all the things, your kids are playing video games and watching movies, like, but you don't want your kid to see how cows and the industrialization of food, and it's something that they're eating. Like, I don't understand.
That's just ignorance.
So I think exposing them to some of those documentaries, talking about it. Hey, what do you think about this? Obviously at an age where it's appropriate because they can have a discussion about it. But for our dinners, and this is something, the number one thing I would say, like, I never made the kids special food.
Mm-hmm.
They ate what we ate. We introduced them to a lot of vegetables.
So how can somebody then, and I think that's great, but if someone listening is like, well, that's great, you did that, I didn't.
Okay.
And now it's chicken nuggets and, pizzas and whatever. What would you, without saying like, this is what you do and telling parents how to parent or giving advice, given your extensive background in working, and raising them, how would you recommend someone start to maybe?
I guess it depends on the kid's age.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think if they're little, I mean, really and truly, like, if your kids are 8 and under, 9 and under.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to be easy. And,
No.
I've been there, too, where it's like your kid wants this and you're saying no. And, yeah, and then especially when we know what happens with sugar and addiction, like, they're going to freak the fuck out.
Right.
Just preparing for that. The crazy thing is, because I've been there 2 days and it's like it never happened. They're all of a sudden like fine. So the littler kids, it's a little bit like, hey, you're in charge. I'm making this decision. I messed up and now I'm going to change it.
Yeah.
The older kids, I think it really is like being patient, having some education around it. But that does require like taking your time.
Yeah.
Talking about it. Like some of the things, like you said, like bringing it back to, okay, let's all have dinner together.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting down, starting to get the like socialization back, not eating on the go, not having it be about a snack, changing what's in your house so there's just stuff that's not available. Like, I get it, kids are going to go and they're going to get snacks with their friends and they have access as they get older to other things, but you don't have to have that stuff in your house. And we go through it, the kids. Like, Olivia will make a salad. Marcus wants a peanut butter jelly. Marcus would eat carbohydrates until he, like, collapsed. He also has started cooking. Like, encouraging, if there's any interest in that, maybe we can all cook together. Like, just whatever it is for you. And I think it's best starting with something that's interesting to you. If you find it interesting, you like to cook, that's probably a good place to start.
Yeah.
If you find it fascinating to, like, or you want to set a really nice table or, like, make that a deal, like, start with that.
Yeah.
But involving them in some way and starting to like educate, because it's not going to be overnight.
No.
But that's where I think we're so used to that instant kind of thing, like, oh, like this is never going to work, just forget it.
Yeah.
But if you can kind of
yeah, I think that when I think about too the kids and like when they ask questions about some of their chats or conversations or whatever, then that's like, okay, they're learning.
Right.
Not that, oh, they don't know.
Yeah.
And so instead of having it be like, all right, kids, this is a carbohydrate, this is a protein, this is a fat, because then it's going to be like memorization.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like, I go to school from 8 to 3. I don't want to be like, and so not having it be so formal.
Sure.
But there's a great opportunity every morning and night to just have it be part of like their.
I think the last thing though is from a parent side, and again, this is from my own experience, and not judging any parents, but I think we do need to, like, food should also taste good. Like, if, like, putting some time and effort into, like, okay, if I really want my kids to eat healthy, like, maybe I need to also invest in, like, like, maybe once a week, it's like, we're going to try to cook a meal that really tastes good, and just putting a little bit of effort into that
that's a good
game.
Point.
So, I think that's, but yeah, we certainly, if you have other questions on that, happy to get into more in, one-to-one.
Okay, moving on.
Okay.
Methods you use or recommend for being more mindful of habitual reactions. That's a big question.
Yeah, that might be like a whole podcast.
That's a big question. Well, I think we can address it
Yeah.
now, because then there's also this other one that was very similar. Thoughts on bringing awareness to things we might otherwise do on autopilot.
Right. So it's really asking
I think
about...
we can dedicate maybe an entire episode to that. However, I don't want to skirt the question because we said we would talk about them. So I think right off the bat, something people can do versus getting into this contextual thing. Journal. Journaling is something that it's a method, it's a tool, it's a resource. It costs however much paper and pen cost. And it is something that allows you to uncover what you're doing. Maybe that you didn't rationally or logically know. Yeah. Like the autopilot element. And so what journaling does is, I think, the process of writing it by hand, as well as the need to pause. The autopilot and habit thing
is the absence of the pause.
Is the absence of the pause, and are things that you're not really actually thinking about. Hence the name. Okay. So when you sit down to journal, you pause. You have to think, and just and connect to what you think and feel, and then the physical act of writing out is amazing. And I've been working with people on this because there's quite a few people who, over the past month or two, they've reached out and they're like, hey, I love what you're doing. I want to get into it, but the journaling. And I'm like, yeah, I know, it's hard because, you probably fill every second with something. And I know that because I do it too. Right. We all do it. Like, hey, you're sitting, you're bored, let me flip through Instagram. Hey, you're not really sure what to do, reach for carbohydrate. Hey, someone's like you feel it. So securing and honoring the space for you to pause and be with yourself and check in with yourself, and then clean out some stuff in your head, I think is a way to unflip the autopilot switch, is to examine your habits from hopefully a place of non-judgment and objectivity. And it's really awesome. What I've experienced with people and with working with people is that I'll often have to check in on them about how they're approaching their journal practice. So don't approach it like you're going to uncover enlightenment and know what the meaning of life is.
It's just
every
the process
single time.
is the process. Just go through it. Well, and I think you've had a couple people who've said, like, one of their hesitations with journaling is, like, which I think is a totally reasonable concern. Like, what if someone finds it? What if someone reads it? like, it's not about collecting your thoughts in a journal. Like, for sure, some people might want to go back and revisit them. It's about getting it out. And so you could tear it out of the page and burn it or throw it away. It doesn't, like, I rarely go back. Some of it I can't even read. But I think also, because what we've discovered is, like, there's a lot of things that kind of keep coming up and you get some clarity on them. The other day, I had an experience that I realized in it, like, okay, this is what we've talked about it, like, caring about other people's like, not opinions, like, oh, I wonder if that person thinks I'm pretty or something, but, like, if something happens, I invest so much into something I can't control, which is what that person's perspective was, and it, like, someone I don't even know, and in that, like, I wasn't somewhere where I could journal.
Yeah.
I was in the middle of a walk.
Yeah.
But I, like, stopped. I, like, physically stopped.
Yeah.
And I, like, closed my eyes and I took a couple deep breaths and I, like, talked to myself. Like,
what did you say?
Yeah, and I said, like, okay, like, you cannot control this.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to let, this is, like, I kind of established, like, this is what I do. Like, I saw that.
Yeah.
And so right now, to move forward, to not let this ruin a perfectly great day and
sure,
totally absorb me, is, like, I need to let that go.
Yeah.
And, like,
right.
I can't control it. So I think at least the stopping, if you're in a place where you can't journal.
Yeah.
The journaling is the coming to that place of being able to recognize it is because of doing work like journaling and things like that. But in the moment,
sure.
Like, you know, and I know it's like nothing new to say, like, okay, count to 10. The reason for that is, like, breathing. I think the breathing is huge. If you're in a state like,
yeah,
we're in an argument, like, for us, it would probably do us a lot of good to, like, stop and breathe and, like, okay, let's just, because it's that pause, if it's not journaling, something to, but it's all part of being able to recognize it.
Right.
'Cause if you're not recognizing it because you're not doing the work to recognize it, you're not going to have the foresight to say, like, oh, we need to stop.
Right. I agree. I talked about this on whatever podcast it was, doesn't matter. A tool, a framework, a lens that I'd like to also, that I use often, and we used it on you that one time where I was driving to wherever, and you weren't having a meltdown, but you were definitely, like, asking some serious questions. And I think the underlying element of, like, in the moment and on autopilot and habitual reactions, there's an underlying lack of awareness. And so the question then is, well, how do I improve, or how do I display awareness in real time? And it's like, well, yes, answer that for yourself. Like, how can you? Something that has helped me is going through a progression. What do I see?
Right.
What do I think? What do I feel?
Right.
In that order. Right. Even though what you feel is going to be stronger than what you think, which is going to be stronger than maybe what you see. The point is, by going through that, you small little thing. What do I see? You don't have to really think right now.
I mean, you mean, like, literally, like, if you're driving, what do I see? I see the trees, like, really just what you see, not some ethereal.
No, not what I see. Like,
literally
so
what
if
my
I'm,
eyes are seeing.
Yeah, like, if I'm going through something, what do I see right now? Going into detail about what I see. I'm looking at Kay. She has, what color are your eyes? I don't even know. They're cool.
Oh my God. First time ever, guys.
Oh my God.
On our podcast.
So, but like looking
eyes.
at her eyes, and then her eyelashes and her eyebrows, and she's wearing a black brim hat that has, like, going through something like truly, what you're doing is you're painting a picture for the environment that you're in.
Yeah.
Which is an element of how you interact with it. What do you think? Like, what are you thinking? So let's use the example, not of this sitting here, but, like, we get in an argument.
Right.
You're saying whatever, I'm saying whatever, and it's not good. All right. And what do I see? And I look, and I literally, where I am, I identify what I see, and I paint that picture.
Yeah.
What do I think? In that moment, like, I am thinking of...
Right, like, I'm thinking Kay's being selfish right now. I'm thinking...
Yeah, I'm thinking that I went through... I did this, and that, and it means a lot to me, and she didn't acknowledge it.
Right.
And now she's asking me to do that, and that. And I'm like pretty pissed off.
Right.
All right, what do you feel? Like, there's two parts to the what do you feel. There's what's the emotion? Like, I feel unacknowledged, taken for granted, alone, sad, resentful, whatever that is. That's great to have the kind of labeling of it, but more importantly, or not more importantly, equally as important, is
physically
what are the sensations that come with feeling resentful? What are the sensations that come with?
So what would be an example? Like, you might feel...
Right, so I might feel my heart
right.
beating through my chest. I might feel the muscles in my jaw start to clench. I might feel my teeth against each other. I might feel my face getting a little bit red, my skin getting a little bit hot. I might feel tension in my gut. So like those types of things. And that can help raise awareness. Now we use sort of like a negative example, but that can also be used anywhere. What do I see, what I think, what do I feel?
Well, it's also stopping you from just reacting, because you're going through this process, and in that process,
right,
you're having a rest.
And so what it strives to do is to link in a lowest hanging fruit progressive way your emotional and your rational minds. Because
and I think today I coached a class. We started out on the rowers, and we started slow. We did some warming up, and I was trying to explain to them that, like, because I think most people are so out of touch with how they feel, and that's something you've been looking at a lot lately, which is why we can go through a whole podcast about this. But people aren't used to acknowledging how they feel. Like, we kind of are used to like pushing that away, like, don't be weak, oh, who cares, like, whatever, and the rational mind takes over. But your body is sending you those signs, and that's a way for you to cultivate awareness. Okay, shit, like, I really feel completely exhausted after doing 5 minutes of a warm-up. What is your body trying to tell you? You can override that and say, no, I'm going to get after today, which kind of goes into another question.
Yeah. And so what are some other things? I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that the Between Years practice will fundamentally improve your awareness.
Yeah, that's the tool that it's meant to be. Yeah,
and that's what it's about. That doesn't mean that you're never going to go on autopilot. That doesn't mean that you're never going to fall into old habits or patterns or anything like that. But you'll be armed and equipped with the awareness, and then what you choose to do with it is going to be on you. So
and the practice has some grounding anchors, which is cool. Like concepts that you can kind of go, oh yeah, okay, that. Like, let me think about that as it relates to this. So.
Yeah.
All right, moving on, because we got to keep the train rolling.
All right, then, girl. You're
so bad at this.
I know. Methods you recommend for being more mindful, habitual, done. Programming. Here we go. So back to the workout side. Programming for how you are feeling versus what's written on the whiteboard.
Right.
So an interesting kind of to piggyback on that. So recently, I guess I'll frame it. Recently, we've, over the past, I don't know, year, 2 years, whatever it might be, we've been implementing predominantly the principles of Strong Fit and really learning and experimenting and digging in and sharing and all of that, and why we have decided to share that with others that trust us with their fitness and their health is because we've seen significant improvements physically, mentally, emotionally.
Right.
A underlying concept is that what we do should be based off of where we are.
What we do for a workout should be based off of our body, our nerve, what we're capable of that day. So back to what we were saying with some of the physical signs.
Right.
Like where your body is at should really be guiding more so what you do that day, not just your brain. And I think we have it
not just the brain, but just, I mean, someone else's agenda. This goes kind of into the story thing from last week. Somebody else's agenda, programming, whatever, you name it. That's going to determine then what you do.
Right.
And it's like, well, why? Is that best for you?
Right. I think the challenge is forever. I mean, this is sort of newer, I think the whole concept of connecting and acknowledging the body-mind connection is certainly newer. Now that's as old as Darwin, ironically, and like
it's as old as time.
Yeah, but now we're saying like, oh, okay, maybe there's like something we need to look at here. I think the fitness industry is catching up very slowly, but it's like the last thing to come around because people are very attached to like they want to. It's so much easier when people just hand them instructions. But as you said, that's someone else's agenda. Us putting on the board, you're gonna do this. You're gonna go really crazy today. That's just picking things out of thin air,
right.
And attaching that to where someone else is at is not best for them. So we've been programming, but trying to distribute and execute that workout in different ways for what different people might need.
Yeah, and I think that we're also not saying don't ever have a plan, don't ever have a template, or don't ever follow along, because you know the reality of it is, for somebody who's not an operator within the fitness space, who's not really coaching but wants to train, enjoys training, needs to use their body for something. Yeah, you don't really know, or you don't want to know, or you kind of know but want some help. So there's a ton of value to having somebody give you, but I guess my answer would be use what's there as a starting point, as a recommendation.
Sure.
And then if it falls in line, if it's thought out, if you're just pulling stuff out of thin air, again, fine, but understand that your approach to it is generally random, and it's just like, okay, so your fitness is going to be based on a certain set of. You know.
I think one of the things that's helpful in terms of a structure, so like I talked about it today with them, generally speaking, maybe in the course of a week, guiding people to like, there should be, if you're a generally healthy person, right? We all have days that are good, we have days that we're a little more tired. There's kind of in any given week, we have good days and bad days, we have, good sleep days, we have less than good sleep days, whatever.
Yeah.
But in the course of a week, generally speaking, you're probably going to have a day where you really go hard, you feel really good, and you're like, yes, like I want to really kind of push myself today. You're going to have probably a day where you're like, I don't feel good at all. I didn't sleep, I went out, I maybe had alcohol, I had sugar, whatever it is. I'm just down, whatever. So that's going to be a day where like, yeah, you're just going like super chill. Your whole goal is just to like calm yourself down, just not stress your system. You're probably going to want to have a day where you like, it's more about like you can connect to like your muscles, like not just about your heart rate getting up. I want to feel like, where are my lats? Where are my chest? Okay. And then there's probably going to be a couple days, 2 days that are like generally like a normal kind of workout. It's not that crazy. It's not that it's easy. But like figuring out when, what day, yes, that is very challenging. We struggle with that. I mean, it's not an easy thing, but that's what we were saying, like some of the signs. So when you're warming up, part of the warm up is to kind of give you an idea like, yeah, like, man, I do not feel great today. I'm just not fired up today. That's probably an indicator, like, maybe today's not that day to really go crazy. That sort of thing. So...
Yeah, and I would say, and I agree. I would also say, though, like, how many days like that are you saying?
Right, now...
And so the bigger question is... how are you really like approaching wherever fitness falls in with your life? What's the purpose of you? So for some cases, let's say a games athlete.
Well, let's not talk about games athlete.
Well, let me just go down a couple examples. Games athlete, someone who's a competitive fitness enthusiast. Right. Because of what you signed up for in the context of the relationship,
there's less choice.
There's less choice. Like, if you want to do this, then you have to do it.
Right.
Okay. First responder, military, law enforcement. What's your mission profile?
Right.
What's your op tempo?
kind of
Where are
same
you?
thing. Like, you don't really have a choice. You're
Yeah,
signed up. You have a
but you
responsibility.
do too, though. Joe Maisley is doing this with Grid Athlete. He's saying, like, and I love it because he put up a thing one time saying, yeah, I went, let's just say it was DT. He's like, it was not responsible. I went too hard on DT because I was on hour 3 of a 24-hour shift on the ladder,
If something
in a ladder
happened,
company.
he would not be
Yeah.
able to respond.
So, like, if you're a first responder, law enforcement, blah, 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 and you're smashing Fran right when you get to the house so you can chill the rest of the time, like what do you need to do?
Yeah.
The average person, the normal person, like, why do you enjoy coming to the gym? What is it? How do you approach coming to the gym? Fitness, whatever. And if there's more days than not that you're just like, I'm just low energy, that's what we need to figure out, not what you're going to do.
No, I think there's a couple of things. One is not just why are you coming and do you enjoy it? There are people that say they enjoy coming, but it's like, what is it doing for you? Because if it's a little bit destructive in terms of what it's doing for you, like we've talked about, like, well, I feel good when I leave the gym if I like did really well on a workout, or I got a good score, versus like physically I feel good. I feel like actually I'm in a good mood. I feel like physically connecting to that feeling. But yes, I think it's a good indicator to connect with how you feel. And if you're every day you're saying, man, I really don't feel like working out, yeah, that's a sign too. Now we got to look at that.
Right.
If every day you're saying, like, I got to crush this workout, physically that's probably not, it's not possible. And it's like, well, why is that? So trying to get to a place where you find, like, okay, there's some sort of balance here. That's what we want. So not just abiding by, like, someone else saying today's the day you're going to crush yourself and today's the day you're not. It doesn't make sense. We're individual people with individual lives.
Yeah.
So just because we're all together for that hour, we're saying, like, that doesn't make sense.
Right. And if someone's training on their own, I always say this, like, are you training or are you exercising? Because if you're training for something. Not, I'm training for life. No. Then you're exercising for life.
Yeah.
I would just say just question it. Mm-hmm. And the snatch is a great example. The amount of people that fuck themselves up by snatching.
Yeah.
Why?
Right.
Why are you doing it? We're not saying never snatch again. But, like, if you're snatching every single week and your shoulder is constantly in this nagging pain, or your
and
back
you're an
hurts,
everyday exerciser.
And you're an everyday exerciser, and you haven't done a competition, and you're not a athlete that, like, basically an Olympic weightlifter.
Right. How do you feel after that? How is it contributing to your overall fitness?
Right. And if it's like, well, because they say so.
Right.
Who?
Yeah.
CrossFit.
Right. Your
local gym. You and me. Influencers, whoever that might be. They're not right. They're not wrong. But, like, what is it to you? How are you controlling your story, and how are you writing that? And if you feel pressured, if you feel like, well, that's what we do we? Why?
Yeah, this should.
Yeah. So.
And I think there was another question that might as well roll into about that, sort of when to kind of push through that, and when to honor.
Yeah, so here we go. Fatigue and training, when to shut it down, and when to push through the tire.
Yeah. So I think it's an interesting thing, kind of what we were saying, is like, well, is it that you're physically tired? Is it fatigue and, like, oh my God, I'm so burnt out on training? So I think there's a couple of things. And I think if you're always tired because your job is, like, super demanding, and you're like, yes, I am tired, like, and it makes sense that I'm tired.
Well, this particular person, we won't drop any names.
Yeah, she has a very demanding job.
Very demanding job.
So I would say
very important job for everyone else as well.
Yeah.
So, like, that's.
So I would say that person, yeah, like, they would my recommendation would be like, yeah, you probably do need to pull back quite a bit and dose yourself very carefully. And if you do that, you could probably maximize, like, your situation. But if it is, like, forcing it, I think you're going to find yourself in, like, a very dangerous, like, little cycle. So I think it's not, like, just because I think if you're careful with it, there's still a place for someone to, like, for that person to like go hard every
For
now and
sure.
then. Yeah. But the volume's going to be a huge thing. The frequency, that person it might be best for their fitness, for their health, for everything, to like work out like 3 times a week max.
Yeah.
But the attachment to, well,
it's
I
an
used to work out
identity.
6 times a week. Like,
Yeah.
is this enough? And I totally get that.
Yeah.
But understanding like it's that quality over quantity. So, you know, that might be 3 times a week might be just right to not be tired, to have it be something that does help you with your energy and doesn't put you in the hole.
Yeah.
But but finding that right balance. And if you're like, all right, I've been working out 4 times a week and I'm just always tired, it's an indicator that something's not quite right.
Yeah, we always have to look at the bigger picture, and on today's experience might not today's experience is just one. If we're looking at it through a straw, we only see a limited amount. When we look at it with wide field of view, then we see more. I feel like for both of these questions, the tool of framing or reframing really is what I immediately come to with like, that's what we need to do. We need to reframe
Right.
our approach and our relationship with fitness. We need to drop the judgment, we need to drop the history, we need to drop all of the outside noise and simply get to know fitness and our relationship with fitness again. Yeah. And we can reframe that to have a much more healthy relationship, where if you were on a sailboat, Tim Chan is going to demand that I do sailing lessons now because of me never having sailing. I'll say this: if you're skydiving, if you're under a canopy, where's the wind go? Like the direction of the wind. There's going to be those days where that wind, if you throw that sail up or you turn and you have the wind behind you, and like you are going to be screaming. It's like, right, yes, that's great. There's also those times where you're going to have to fly into the wind, or if the wind is coming at you and you throw your sail, but like it doesn't catch and you're fighting to survive. So like, how can you adjust your sails, or how can you adjust your canopy so that this wind, this energy, propels you to go where you want to go?
Not just fighting against it.
Not just fighting against it.
Yeah.
And you know, let's
well,
not
and
be.
I think some people feel like, well, yesterday, and I'm speaking about myself, like, but I loved how yesterday, like, I caught the wind and it, like, just, that was awesome. I just want that again. But every day, it can't be that day. And so I think we get a little bit addicted to that good day, that win. And so we just want we're going to force it to be that. And if the wind is not going that way, you can't make it.
Yeah, and I think there's a fundamental thing of some things we know. Constantly dipping, constantly going level 10 intensity, day after day. It's not a long-term sustainable option.
Right.
It's not a long-term sustainable option if you don't want to accept the fact that you're going to break yourself.
Yeah,
possibly
break yourself,
become disordered thinking,
right.
Unhealthy relationship. And if you're training for professional sport, hey, that's part of the job.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and those people have their life set up probably very differently to like have other factors, anything else is working for them. So like if you take a games athlete, for example, they
right.
just train. Usually their spouse, their coach, they have a support team that is helping them what they eat.
Yeah,
they're not doing anything else. They're recovering. So that's not the average person. So now you try to do that, but now you got to worry about your kids, your job, your food. Like it is not going to turn out the same. You cannot sustain that.
Right. Now, somebody who enjoys training, working out, whatever, doesn't have any aspirations of being a professional athlete, knows they're not one.
Yeah.
We can really look at what do you want to get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're not saying not.
What do you want to get out of fitness?
Right. I mean, I love training. I
Yeah.
love working out. I love exercising. That's been something that's been part of my life for a very long time. I've had to reframe it, and every day is a little bit different. The workout, how I feel, and I'm also
so why do you
learning.
Train? So why do you train? Why do you train the way you do? Why do you eat the way you do? Why do you engage in fitness and health and wellness the way you do?
I mean, I don't know that it's super deep and complicated. Like
That's
I really
fine. Simple
enjoy
shit.
it. I mean,
Okay.
it brings me, like today when I went to the gym, I like connecting to my body. It is energizing. I feel good. I feel in a good, like some, depending on the workout, sometimes there's like, it's also time for myself. I do enjoy that. There's like time where there's not a lot of other things I'm thinking about, considering it's kind of a pause in my life. I do want to be healthy. That's important to me, of a value. So nutrition and those things all fall in line with that. But for me, it is also like a very fine line between like what that means about who I am. So like if I take 2 days off in a row, that's not like, that doesn't, like, I have a lot of rules that I've created for myself. And now I have awareness about those rules. Like, who made those rules? And why wouldn't I be able to take 2 days off or 3 days? What does it matter? But I think that's the process. And so it's like, okay, for me, it helps to remind myself, like, if I'm not feeling like working out, honoring that feeling. There's a reason why I'm not really fired up to go to the gym. Is there another place I could go? Or could I go for a walk? Or what's the thing? So that tomorrow I can continue to get all those things that I like about training. Because if I fight the wind, then in 2 days from now or 3 days or next week, hating working out, dreading going in there, now I'm not getting any of those positive things out of it.
Right.
So I found that, like, and I have to keep reminding myself that, but it is about the quality and not the quantity and not the rules and not the attachment to these made up things. And I have found from a performance, like, performance, I say that like meaning
execution of fitness
execution
tasks.
of fitness, from a mental state, like enjoying it, wanting to go and do things, and body composition, like all three of those things are moving in the right direction when it's not like if I skip 2 days to the gym, I gain 10 pounds. I mean, and I think it's important for people to hear that, because I know that is part of people's thing. Like, all the things should go in the right direction of positive. And I think often we're like, well, yeah, like, maybe you, like, feel good about your body composition, but you feel like shit when you work out, you don't want to go to the gym. Like, there's something wrong there. It should all be going in the positive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things with people who can't let go of what they should do.
Yeah.
The templates, the numbers, the quantification of it. And I would say, like, what is the gym saying? What is your exercise saying about you that you can't actually say about yourself? Yeah. And not to say that whoever submitted this question, but that's a common thing. It's just like, well, I have to come to the gym, or I have to do this, I have to do this. And it's like, you're subscribing to this other thing, this other set of rules that aren't maybe in line with who you are. And
I would say and this isn't, I don't want this to sound like a sales pitch, and there's other people that do this, it's not just us.
Yeah.
But one of the things that has helped me, that I know has helped other people, me working with them, and me working with a coach, is having someone to help guide that process. Yeah. So it's a very, like, you're not just in a vacuum, where it's like, well, what do I want to do today? I have no idea. I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. Having someone kind of be like, all right, here are some ideas. Let's try to work towards, like, what that might feel like today. And someone that's sort of a guide. So if someone is struggling with that, there are, and again, it's not a sales pitch, but, like, that's where coaching as a, like, programming, working with someone as a coach for the fitness side can be really helpful. Like, giving a little bit of guidance, not just throwing you out there and saying, figure it out, how do you feel? Because I know that's it can be paralyzing and very frustrating.
It really is, and it really can be. And, one of my clients is a good athlete, really good athlete. And we see it time and time again where, you do these things kind of mindlessly. You do these things on autopilot. You do these things just because of what they say. Yeah. And if we ask ourselves, like, who's in control here? Is the workout controlling me, or am I controlling the workout? And that sounds all well and good and simple. I'll tell you, he's been digging in and doing the work and making some amazing changes and transformations because he's taking back his life.
Yeah.
And the power of movement and the power of exercise is non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
Your brain doesn't care if you're doing muscle ups and snatches.
Mm-hmm.
Like your body doesn't really know what you're
Right.
doing. Are you moving? Is there a signal happening? Is there a response happening? Yesterday I went for a walk with the dogs. Part of my workout, part of my fitness for the day, was a 60-minute nasal breathing walk for the dogs, with the dogs. And it's like, that's not a workout. And it's like, that's not a workout for a certain type of working out.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a workout for CrossFit or for
It's
bodybuilding
that
or
has
for
a purpose for your body and your mind.
yeah.
Period.
And I didn't put a ruck on. I didn't tow a sled. I didn't do any of that.
But when everything, I mean, that's amazing that consideration is always there. Maybe I should, and that's, I think for people to know, that's normal to have that, because it's questioning, because you're doing something that's different than what you've done all this time, and questioning that there's going to be a little bit of that friction, but it's that's what it is to evolve. So
yeah. And just to wrap it up, looking at fitness not just from sport.
Yeah.
Looking at fitness not just from competition, from performance, from stats, from PRs. When we think about fitness, we look at mental, emotional, and physical fitness. That's the fitness continuum. That's the fitness spectrum.
Yeah.
If we're only on the physical side and we're not doing anything with the mental or the emotional side, we're failing.
It's limited.
We're limited.
It's limited in what you're going to get out of it.
Yeah. And the amazing thing is we can look at the mental and the emotional side and have positive influence on the physical side. But if all we do is focus on the physical side, it doesn't work the other way. Like that, maybe it does a little bit, but it's not as influential. It's like you can get better at whatever. Anyway, so that's kind of, I think, something to look at. And but those are good questions. Let me see one more. Any other last minute entries here. No, that's pretty much it. Somebody asked me if I collect anything. There were some silly ones that came in that I didn't entertain. But all right.
Yeah.
So that's good. Question and answer. I think we'll see what next week is. I don't know if we want to spend the whole episode on that. We'll kind of see. There's no script. There's no master plan or strategy for this stuff. So
no, we talk about. We generally come up with a topic and we flesh out things. But if it is good to helpful if people have oh yeah, I really would like to talk about this or hear your take on this, or those are all things for sure that we value and
we have some happenings.
Mm-hmm.
February 8th is the Between Years seminar.
Yeah, in
Morristown. It's not going to be it's not going to be like any other event. So there will be lecture, theory, and concepts.
Less physical. There'll be some physical.
Less physical. Probably about I would say 2/3 to 1/3, and the physical will be
1/3 physical.
1/3 physical. Yeah, sorry. And the physical there will be a workout, like very much a workout element, and then there will be other type of movement. Yeah. So you're not gonna be in your chair for 4 hours and then working out for 2 hours or whatever. Lecture. Say lecture because presentation, information, that whole bit.
Speaking, teaching.
Yeah, teaching. There will be practical exercises. So things that, it's all well and good, but let's actually do some work. So you'll do some work on yourself in that. And then obviously a movement element with one of them being.
And it's a small group, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
Like we've been experiencing 10 is the max for some of this stuff. Someone did ask you if you're going to do a BTE retreat.
Right. Someone asked about that. Yeah.
You've done that retreat style is immersion.
Yeah.
And that's something you're looking at getting a weekend for.
Yeah. Next, probably in the fall.
Yeah.
Realistically.
So,
just because everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have that. The practice. I've been actually getting people saying, WTF.
Yeah. Are you going to do it with a group? Yeah.
It didn't work for me. I'll be honest with you, it's a lot of work for me. It's a lot of emotional work for me. Because
to run a group.
To run a group, yeah. This group, I think, the current group is... Which is smaller. Yeah, the current group, which is smaller, is better.
Yeah.
The previous group, there was about 3 times as many people. That was too big. And I knew, and I kind of was like, oh, I'll open up. And I like went against my gut. And I, like, lesson learned on that one. Don't you say that word until you know what it means.
I read 2 pages.
Oh, please. Anyway, so I do think I'll be starting another group actually, but this will be like 10 people.
Yeah.
Maybe springtime. You know, this group's coming up, finishing up their first month, so
you're getting closer to the practice level 2, version 2.
Yeah, the 2.0.
Yeah,
You're
2.0.
right. You're right. 2.0.
And I might do another women's group also in the spring.
Yeah.
And see about, it's interesting because that group could work also virtually if there's people. I mean, it's great that we do the workout together every week, but there might be an opportunity for someone who really wants to do it.
I would love to do a similar between the ears in-person group. Yeah. What's funny about that is most of the people in the practice right now
live everywhere else.
But anyway, you guys can also, we do work with people one-on-one.
Yep. So some of the programming stuff, that's like, not, like I said, not a plug, but we are very much aware, and this isn't to pat ourselves on the back, but we've been spending and dedicating our life to learning and evolving. Most gyms are not doing this. So for a lot of people that aren't in the Morristown area, it's like, great, well, when I come in and my coach says, this is what we're doing, one of my clients goes to another CrossFit gym, and we work with what we can, open gym time. She does come down to us every now and then, but there's a lot of ways to work on figuring out your approach to fitness without you leaving your gym.
Yeah, for sure.
So, if that's something, reach out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Thanks for the questions. See you next week.
Bye. Okay. Fixing that wire.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.